If they asked me, I could write a book about the way you walk and whisper and look.
Joining us now on our book talk segment, great to welcome a woman who's written an interesting book about a famous guy, Steve Jobs. Insanely Great is the name of the book. It makes it a little different. It's a graphic biography, and we're joined today by the author and artist, Jessie Hartland, from up in New York today on telephone. And Jessie, good to be with you. How are you today?
Yeah, very good, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good to have a chance to talk with you. Like I said, I've never really, I've heard of them, but I just never had a chance to read a graphic novel, and I thought it was interesting, not only the story you tell of his life, but the pictures. I assume you did both the drawing and the writing, right?
I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I'm an illustrator, but I also write now as well. So I did both, and it's a kind of a great kind of a book that's been very popular in Europe and other parts of the world for years, and it's finally catching on in the U.S. So it's a great way to absorb a subject. Without reading, say, the biography by Walter Isaacson is 600 and some pages long, where, my book is just about 220 pages. So you really get the whole story in my book. So it's a great way to tell a story with the pictures and the words that go together.
I've heard that the graphic novels have become popular. I didn't realize it's in Europe became popular first, though, right?
Oh, yes, and in Asia, too, I would say. When I was growing up, I was a kind of a reluctant reader myself. I wasn't really into books so much, and, I was always drawing and doodling, and I would have loved a book like this when I was, say, a teenager, but there really weren't any. There were the Tintin books by the Belgian artist Hergé, but that was about it. I can't think of any others.
Yeah.
So it's catching on.
I like what you did with it. And again, Steve Jobs is a great subject. I mean, it's sad that he passed away and all that, but I mean, he's a great subject to write about. His story was from coming from what he did and really having a fallback, and then coming back again to become what he eventually did, to invent all those, or help invent all the great technology we have today. So it must have been interesting to write about.
Yes, it really was. I mean, he's a rebellious kind of guy. I also think that's a great. He's a kind of an interesting role model for, certain people, certain kids who are maybe struggling in school. And here's this guy who, he actually dropped out of college after just a semester, and then he took a calligraphy class, and then he started a little company in his parents' garage, and it grew to become the world's most valuable company. He's just quite amazing, quite an amazing guy who he was able to look into the future and imagine the kinds of products that people were going to want, but before they realized they wanted them. He liked to quote Henry Ford, who said, when people asked him why he wasn't doing any market research when he was working on cars, and he said, well, if I'd asked them what they wanted, they would have said they wanted a faster horse. So he came out with an automobile. So Steve Jobs was similar. He just he had these incredible instincts. He would trust his instincts and just run with it.
Yeah, he became in his second incarnation, because he got fired originally, right, from the company he started. He had to kind of reinvent himself a little bit, didn't he?
He did. He had to step back, and then he started this company called Next, and Next was, these really super powerful computers, and then it just kind of, it never really took off, although this guy, Tim Berners-Lee, invented the World Wide Web on a Next computer. But anyway, he was able to, I think he thought a lot about how he was acting at Apple the first time, and then when he came back to Apple the second time, he was able to, learn from some of his mistakes, and that's when he came out, and the company was really tanking. I think it was just a matter of months it was going to completely go under.
Yeah.
And then he brought it back. He cut back the number of products that the company was making. That's one thing he did, and he it was amazing transformation.
Yeah, just reading your book, you get the impression that he was able to focus better than anybody else. That's really what he did, right? Focus on the core product of Apple, and to the nth degree, he made sure that product was exactly the way he wanted it, right?
Yeah, he did. He just, he was able to, he really liked to simplify things, like simplify technology and make things. He was just always looking to make something more user-friendly. He's always thinking about the customer, the consumer. What are they going to want? I mean, let's make this easy for them. When you think back to, I don't know if you have an iPhone, but you think, I feel like the iPhone is the real masterpiece of a product. I mean, you think back to what cell phones were like before the iPhone. They were so clunky. They were so hard to use. Try to put your contacts in, and you're pressing all these buttons, and it was an enormous leap. I mean, I think it's a fabulous product. So that's really Steve. Steve, perfecting, and he's just such a perfectionist. He's just driving the people that work for him, crazy. But like, we got to do this. Nope, we got to back to the drawing board. Nope, this isn't perfect yet. Difficult guy to work for, but these employees said, he brought out the best in me. He brought out this really great work.
I was going to say he was not easy to work for. He was actually tough to work for. But I know. But the people that stuck with him, I guess they were happy about that, because they probably made good piece of change off the stock. But I mean, but he was not easy to be around.
No, I don't think so. Nope. He was scary. Yeah.
Which is not uncommon in a lot of geniuses either. I mean, that type of person, a lot of them are kind of like him, right? Maybe he took it further than others, but they have their own way of thinking, and they're not always easy to be around.
No, they're not. No.
Hence the title, Insanely Great.
He did what he did. Yeah, that's right. And working on it, sometimes I felt like some of his insanity was rubbing off on me. It was like, it was such a huge job. It was just drove me crazy. At times, he felt like he was this obnoxious roommate. I couldn't get rid of. I worked on it for 2.5 years. The book.
I was going to say, what was your process? Because you tell the story, but you have to write or draw a picture to go along with that. So that must have been a challenge, I guess, in a sense. What do you draw in this particular part of his life, right?
Yeah. I mean, I worked as an illustrator for many years. For New York Times, Travel and Leisure, all kinds of magazines, and so I think I kind of know what to do as far as like translating, words and ideas into a picture. But when you're doing a book like this, you're kind of, there's too much material, so you're having to pick and choose, what you're going to include. And I'm looking for certain facts and things that I know are going to make a good drawing. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the way it works. You're working. I'm kind of working. I have these notebooks that have these little pages, and I can move them around. They're like loose leaf, and then I'm always like moving things around and thinking about like, well, this page is very cluttered. Let's put one big drawing on this page, right. And this next page has a few images. So it's a long process.
Yeah, I would imagine it was, but it's a fascinating story of his life, but I think you tell it very well in a graphic format, and again, it's called Steve Jobs, Insanely Great. We've been talking with Jessie Hartland today, and Jessie, I know it just came out, doing quite well. Do you have a website you want to direct people to, then get more information on the book?
Yeah, sure. It's my name. It's JessieHartland.com, so it's JessieHartland. So JessieHartland.com.
Great. You working on another graphic novel now, or what do you got coming up?
Well, I just finished a book about Ada Lovelace. Actually, I just did the illustrations. It's a picture book, so it's for younger kids. And I'm starting to write a book about a Tartufo, it's a truffle hound. So I'm going to be going to France and Italy in a couple weeks to research that book. And I don't know. some other things going on, but I'm actually looking for a subject for another book similar to this. I have a few ideas, but I haven't really settled on something yet. So
well, when you do, please let us know, or your publicist know. We'd love to have you back on. But it was fun to talk to you today. Thanks for being with us.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for calling. Okay.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to DougMilesMedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at DougMilesMedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media, all rights reserved. You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or Doug Miles Media.